Oops. Welcome to the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast, episode number 123 with just the host. You can find us at www.liftheavyrunlong.com, on Twitter and Instagram at liftrunlong. Also, feel free to email me directly at the address wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you are not a member of our Facebook group, you should be because we want you to be there. Search for Lift Heavy Run Long Community and request to join right now. My name is Wilson Horrell. I am one of your hosts. The LHRL podcast is not censored, so you want to be careful, especially tonight. Most of us just got finished running a very long race, and we don't feel well.
I've been drinking since.
Big Thirsty has been drinking straight liquor from the bottle ever since.
So I'm going to go back and watch like videos of the show from like 2 or 3 months ago and compare it to the last 2 or 3 weeks. I think that intro has gone from like a 2-minute intro to like a 15-second intro.
Is that a bad thing? I think that's
No.
a good thing. It needs to be out. The information needs to be there.
But just something for me to give you a hard time about. That's
nobody
really
wants to listen to it for any longer. Nobody really wants to listen to it, but it needs to be there. Correct?
It does.
Am I right?
I don't know. It does need to be there, right? I agree. But like with let's use Joe Rogan.
Oh, it's terrible. I fast forward 8 minutes.
His first 10 minutes is all advertisement, and it's like, let me tell you about this show's brought to you by AdamandEve.com or whatever it is. You just want to skip and skip and skip. But like our intro, while you get dialogue like this, like I don't want to miss it. Like, I know you're going to talk about the app, but I might say something about the app that I want to hear.
We have an app.
We do have an app.
I want to tell you about it.
Right.
It's a speedy app, too.
For $3.99 a month, you can be part of that app.
See,
and
who
you'll
would
get
skip that? If you skip,
3 body weight workouts every week. You'll get 4 barbell strength exercises, and you'll get 4 WODs.
That's right.
For $9.99 a month, you can have access to any of the programs that Lift Heavy Run Long has to offer. Valerie Hunt does the programming for Lift Heavy Run Long on the app. She's your trainer. She'll answer any questions. She's always happy to help. She's the best.
She is the best.
She is.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty quick. I got through that pretty quick. That was good.
You did.
But I want to remind you of this. The goal of Lift Heavy Run Long is to bring fitness to as many people as possible as inexpensively as possible. So if you or someone you know needs fitness in their life and they don't have $3.99 per month to spare, then email me at wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com and we'll add you to the app free of charge.
Free.
Also, if you have reached a point in your life where you have time to spare and nothing else better to do with that time, then please go check out the Daily Dumbbell at dailydumbbell.com. The Daily Dumbbell is the most trusted source for fake news in the fitness industry. I want to introduce you to my raging hot wife, the lovely Dr. Amanda Kimsey Horrell, also known as Jacked and Tan.
Why, good evening, kind sir.
Good evening to you. You're looking well.
Thank you. I feel well.
You do feel well.
Yes.
You had a long weekend. You feel really well after running 50 miles.
I do. I feel probably 95% back.
Look at you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was really shocked.
Nice.
My right foot's still sore from the plantar fasciitis issue I had, but other than that, I'm...
It's funny. I coached this morning and did like a couple of very, very, very light back squats, and the weight itself didn't feel challenging, but I was surprised how winded I got. So I'd be interested, like, your soreness is gone, but like if you tried to go run a mile, you'd probably like a tenth of a mile into it, like feel dead.
Oh,
Like, why am I doing this?
I swear to God, if I put 45 pounds on my back, I would snap at the waist. Just snap off like a cartoon.
You'd be surprised.
Just break. The Reverend
I'm here.
Von Rawls.
Here I am.
How are
Vaughn's
you?
feeling better than all of us.
Yeah.
I feel fantastic.
nice and rested.
That's
and
all right.
Vaughn
about
chose
rested,
not
but
to
I
make
feel
the
good.
race this weekend.
Vaughn didn't make the race this week.
But he had a killer workout of weekend. He had a couple of great runs.
I did have a great run yesterday, Sunday. Yeah, yeah. No,
You're on the couch to 50K plan.
I am on the Couch to 50K plan on the LHRL app that we have,
Awesome.
and I'm on week 1. Am I not talking loud enough?
No.
No, you're doing fine. I'm just adjusting things.
Oh,
You let me
Better.
be
That's
me.
better.
You do you, okay?
All right. Anywho, I'm on the LHRL app. And I finished my first week of training for the 50K. I really want to do well at Sillamore, so I'm going to put some effort into it this time and see what happens.
You got a goal yet? What's your goal?
I want to break 6 hours.
Okay.
Good God Almighty.
I mean, I've ran 6:03 before, 6:04 I think, and so I'd like to be in under 6.
Yowza.
Cool.
But I mean, again, if it snows, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, the weather's
So
got to cooperate.
Hopefully, the weather will cooperate, and I can do that. But yeah, I'm putting some effort.
You really put in some effort from the LHRL side of things for those of us that were off doing Tunnel Hill this week, which is
Yes.
nice.
Oh yeah.
Rallying the ambassadors and other people and just kind of keeping everybody clued in to how we were doing, those that were on the ground at the race. It was awesome to see that stuff coming across my phone. I couldn't acknowledge all of it, but
I didn't even know if I just assumed y'all weren't even seeing any of it.
No, not till I was done.
Yeah.
But I could feel. I had my phone with me, and I could feel it buzzing constantly.
Oh, okay.
So I knew that something was going on. I didn't
Awesome.
know what.
Well, it was fun. Like I hated that I wasn't there. I really wanted to be there, but next year I'll go back.
I'll go back next year, but I'm not running.
I'm crewing.
Brian's
I'm
done
not
running, I think.
Not done running.
It seems like
I'm done.
a lot of
I'm
people
done.
are.
He's like,
Seems
I'm
like
not-
a lot of people that ran that race are just finished running forever.
I'm done.
And that's
with
why I wanted
ultras.
to be there,
That's a
because it sounds
trend.
like it would have been very gnarly.
And
Like,
it's
that's
going to
what
be
I
gnarly
was
next
gnarly.
year, and we'll all be running it next year.
Yeah.
I'll crew. That's one thing. Lori Williams was greatly missed, and not having anybody to help crew you. Holy cow!
She really was missed, wasn't she?
Yes. Greatly
Well, I
missed.
asked Brian if he was going to be there, and he said he was going to be doing that Upchuck 50K. And I told him that I was sad that he was going to be doing that and that his wife would be missed.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't
She was
imagine.
missed.
Yeah.
So
It
maybe
would
we can
suck.
talk.
It goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like you can't depend on, if you're going to do this thing, you have to assume the worst possible scenario and be prepared for it. You know what I mean? Like
Yep,
you
yep.
can't be
Self-supported.
like, hey, so and so, take this thing and meet me over here, because that won't happen. You know, you have to have a plan for like all hell is broken loose, and
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do. What's the backup plan? You know,
You know who has the plan?
who's that? Who's that?
Big Thirsty.
Big thirsty.
Brian Swanson.
He does.
The best looking cameraman in the business.
I took
You
a picture
can't
of
see
him
on
last
camera.
week
You did?
and put it on Instagram. You didn't see it?
No, I didn't.
No.
I'll do it again. Maybe you'll.
Oh, I
see
don't
it
have
this time.
Instagram, so I didn't see it.
Well, that's why. How are you, Thirsty?
I am well. I am regretting the life choices that led me to live on the top floor of a townhome at this point.
Yep.
After the 50-miler this weekend, got 6 flights of stairs to the bedroom. So just not as comfortable as it should be.
He's trying to get her on the light because
I
you're just.
know the light is like Big Thirsty under the lights for sure. They won't even be able to see your pretty face.
Now, 48 hours ago, you were going to do the 100-miler next year. And now here we are. You're never going to run again.
You did say you were going to go 100?
Wasn't that a topic of conversation? Did I just dream that up, or did I put you there? I may have just thought he needs to run the 100 next year.
I think you should, man.
I think you should, too.
Admit.
Because I think Dawn's wanting to do it.
It's time for you to man up and do something.
I've already said I was going to do it next year.
You did 100?
Yeah.
Just
Wow.
I don't even need to respond. I'm just gonna let you guys talk about
But you're
this.
thinking about it. I can see the wheels turning from here. You got smoke coming out
I
of
had
your
planned to do the
headphones.
100 this year, and then I wasn't going to tell anybody about it. I was just going to train for it, do it. But then it turned out this was an important game weekend for Notre Dame, so I wanted to be done in time to watch the game.
Yeah.
And which mission accomplished. I was able to catch most of the game. And then Dawn said she wanted to do the 100 next year, and I had said previously that if she did the 100, I would do the 100. But I am saying as of right this second that I am still signed up for the Sillamore 50K, and that will likely be my last ultra marathon.
He's gonna retire.
And that's it.
I'm not saying I'm done running. I'm not saying I'm done with trails.
You can't be done working the
25
camera.
Ks.
That thing's been pointed at me since we started.
No.
You had to point that thing over
No,
at the
he moved
river.
it over to me when I was talking about something a minute ago.
Okay, good.
I have moved it around.
All right.
But see, it's right about me now, so I want to be relaxed.
Look at him
I'm
relaxed.
like-
He doesn't even have
I'm
his
like
hands.
kicked back,
He's just like, I think this is his retirement speech.
Exactly.
Now's the time to give it.
I just I'm not committed to the training at this point, and that's the biggest challenge. If I was dedicated enough to getting out a few times a week and doing the runs, and if I was consistently CrossFitting, then a 50 miler would have been less painful than it was this weekend.
He'll come back like Michael Jordan.
Oh yeah,
He'll be back.
Well, I mean, I have spurts.
he's the Brett Favre of ultra.
I mean,
running.
the crazy thing is I'm sitting here complaining about how I felt from Saturday, but I had a 2-hour and 20-minute PR from a year ago.
Right. So what's the problem? And you're
How
complaining.
miserable I
you're
feel.
complaining about your 6 flights of stairs that are also
Well, I
in a
mean,
downtown
don't
condo that overlook the river.
I definitely have hashtag first world problems.
No doubt about that.
Does anybody not feel bad after running 50 miles or 100 miles? Like, I wonder, like, do people...
The guy that won the
Zach
race.
Bitter probably.
I bet
yeah,
you he feels
looked like-
something. I mean, he probably...
He was smiling. He was walking around. He was shaking hands. He was hugging people.
Well, it was only 12 hours of work.
I wanted to crawl from the finish line to the chair. So I was stick a fork in me done. Within 5 minutes after sitting down, I was shivering.
Well, because it was
Cold.
freezing cold
Yeah,
outside.
if you stop running,
and then,
it's
and then I
cold.
mean, I
Yeah,
put
it makes sense.
I put lined sweatpants on. I put my LHRL hoodie on. I put gloves on. I couldn't get warm. I sat there for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I finally looked at Dawn and I said, "Man, I love the Horals, but I just don't have it in me to sit around and wait on them to finish." Like,
Oh, I don't like anybody that much to stick around. and
well,
wait
I wanted to. I wanted to see because I knew you were crushing it. I knew you were having a great day too.
But you
And-
also know that I could fall apart. It could have been another 4 hours.
It was so cold out there when I crossed the line. Nobody even announced my name. I had to go pick up my own buckle
No way.
Oh wow!
and sticker, and I
Wow.
walked off to the tent,
That's
and they
I
were
would have
all
been like, bitch, say my name
they
on
were
the
all
microphone.
gathering their stuff up because I ran through and I'm like, something wrong
So,
with the.
I-
And then
I'm
they were
kinda-
like,
I'm
"Oh,
kind of
we didn't
interested
see
to
you."
find out what happened this year as far as race management goes because we went to breakfast Sunday morning, and a woman had obviously just finished the 100-miler, and she and her family came in to Cracker Barrel to eat, and she said they ran out of food.
Whoa.
Like the 100-milers didn't have enough food. And the other crazy thing is, as cold as it was, they were waiting until nightfall to warm
the
the
heaters
heating
on? That's
tent
what Mark Fortune was
and
saying.
to light the campfires up at Tunnel Hill. It was cold enough all day long that they could have been running that stuff all day long.
I would have
So
thought
don't
they
know if
would have
they-
had, unless
well,
they just didn't have the resources to do it. I mean,
I don't know what the problem was,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. Like, I just feel like maybe they've never had a race this cold before where they needed to do those kind of things, but I feel like this was not as well run as last year was for
Well,
me.
last year there was plenty of food in the tents, and it was warm. Like there were fires. I mean, it was cold. It wasn't as cold as it was for you guys. But,
Yeah, it was 21 degrees.
it was not that cold, but they still had the fire going. But I don't know.
Yeah, so it was.
My only complaint was the distance.
I had to run so far.
It seemed like everything else was fine.
Yeah, everybody's complaining about the cold.
miles.
Wilson's like, it wasn't the cold.
I don't have any problem with the cold.
Oh.
I got a problem with the heat. And that's what needs to be focused on. There's no appropriation of funds that go to the research of keeping fat people cool.
While it's
Everything
hot
goes
during
to
a hot
keeping
race.
skinny people hot.
Let's
Build
talk
that
about
skinny
it.
dude to fire. That fat guy, he'll be all right.
Yeah, they don't care. They put all this research into thermal things, that different layers that you can put on, but they don't do stuff.
Under Armour has cool gear.
But it doesn't work. It doesn't
And
really
heat
keep
gear?
you cool.
It cools you by like 3 degrees compared to
Yeah.
what it is
No,
outside.
I mean, I need
Hey, they're
something that takes
trying.
me from 90 to 38.
Right.
I feel like Under Armour does research for guys that have like 5% body fat.
Right.
Let's cool this guy.
So-
down. They don't know
so
anything
Wilson-
about a
Wilson,
guy
you
that's
only
got
need to lose-
20% body fat.
Anybody that's putting out compression anything isn't looking out for the fat guy.
You're close to 5%, right?
Something like that. Mark
Thanks
Gaston,
to
that was
keto and
5%.
intermittent fasting, you're like all the way down to single digits.
Are you still on the intermittent fasting train?
Well, I keep getting off of it. I was before Tunnel Hill.
Because all these stupid races we do.
Yes, but I'm still on I will get back on it. I'm hoping to do it today. I mean, I stopped eating at 4, and I'm hoping to stay on it and then just keep it going because I should have a long string of that coming up because I feel good when I'm on it.
What's the next race? St. Jude?
Yep.
Oh, God, I forgot about
St.
St. Jude. I'm not even counting that. I don't know.
You doing the half?
Yeah, I'm signed up for the half.
I'm running the half in the weight vest.
What if you get? Is it a bad thing to give somebody your bib?
Yes. You get kicked out the race.
I don't
whatever.
think you can do that for St. Jude. No.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing St. Jude.
Think about the kids.
Okay. They need me to run.
They need you to run.
They do.
It has nothing to do with the fact that St. Jude already has your money.
Yeah.
And you running is not going to change anything.
Man, I hate running on
Those
the road.
kids have your number on a log, and they'll be looking for you out that window.
I hate running on the road. I'll be just as sore from that as I was from.
I don't mind it
This
so
thing.
much. I kind of like it. I've grown over the years to like it more and more running.
Have you?
I'm the
yeah,
opposite.
especially the St. Jude Marathon. Like I like that.
So I was
course.
telling Wilson before we started, I ran Tunnel Hill in road shoes, and you guys know I run in like super minimalist shoes, and I felt every rock on that course. And it's crushed gravel, and really most of the course is not is like a fine sand, like a packed sand for the most part. But every once in a while you run into those sections where the gravel is just a little bit bigger, and my feet are so sore and achy right now. Like
I wore those New Balance Leadville last year.
And those are my trail shoes. That's what I
Yeah.
wear for trail, but that's not what I ran. I ran in my New Balance Minimus shoes instead. So
Did y'all see me trip over that rock on like mile 2 and almost fall down?
No.
You know, we've been doing all these trail races, and I go out there to Tunnel Hill where
there's not a route
not a
to be
single
found.
route on the whole place. And I'm talking, and I was like, whoa, threw my hands out. and
Tripped over
everything.
your own feet.
I caught myself, but y'all were right behind me.
I did see somebody fall
And it was embarrassing.
on the trail.
LHRL Ambassador Steve Wilkes said you are running St. Jude because he's showing up.
He's one of my big concerns. He's coming in town, so
He's like, I'm coming in town. I will
have to
cut you
start
if
it
you
with
don't.
him. Well, he's going to run like a 2-hour marathon, so I only have to spend like 30 seconds with him.
Is he going? Is he going to Sillamore too?
Oh, let's talk
Yeah.
about Beefcake Speedy Gonzalez. How about the fact that like through mile 14, you were staying ahead of me for a better part of the first 14 miles, and we're still running strong.
And it took me to a 14-hour and 20-minute 50-miler.
I don't care.
I was feeling good.
You were having a great. You had a
I
great
felt good,
race.
Yeah. I ran.
Because I remember
the majority of
last
the
year,
race.
like you were
I was
probably
already-
6 or 7 miles behind me at mile 14,
I
and
was
you looked dead already.
I was stepping on my tits at mile 10. Yeah,
So
last year
I was
passed.
really, really excited for you and how good. I mean, I know the wheels eventually fell off or whatever. I saw you after the turnaround. You were headed to the turnaround at Tunnel Hill, and I was leaving the turnaround. But you were still smiling, moving forward, and seemed pretty positive. Where I seem to remember last year, we were both like, "Urgh."
Well, so they have this feature, Tunnel Hill does, where you can watch live. Like you can track results live,
yeah.
but it didn't work.
Right.
Well, I don't think it's really
So,
live. I think it just counted each.
Well, here's so I had like all these
No,
panic
each of
attacks.
those pads was supposed to be cell phone enabled, so that it was live updating the website, so that people could track us.
right. And I think it worked that way.
I think I want to talk to somebody who knows, but I think they put out a different link than what was on the website or something, because what I was using from the beginning seemed to work. And what happened was Beef got way in front of Amanda. Like
I saw you put that on Slack.
like he was like an hour ahead of her.
Oh, yeah, that's a problem.
And I was like, and I go, I hope Amanda's not hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, anybody heard from Amanda? Like, is she hurt? Because, I mean, not that you shouldn't be, but
Or
Wilson's
is
like an
Beef
hour.
back on amphetamine?
Right. And then, like, if that happened again, like, a couple of times, it was like, where?
Not that Beef can't have a good day, but it just seems unlikely.
But then, so then nobody got updated on what I was looking at after, like, 16 miles.
Yeah, the friend of mine that was watching it said that it was working for the first 3 hours of the race, and then it quit
And
working.
so
after
then
that.
I go, it's like 3:00 in the afternoon, and I'm looking at, and nobody's made it back to Vienna. And I was like, okay, either they quit because it's cold, which is what I was thinking. I was like, did everybody just quit? Because
the entire team.
Mark said he quit. I was like, surely they didn't all just quit. And so then Crystal or somebody on the Slack app says, no, it's working for me. And maybe it was Andrew said, no, it's working for me. They're at mile 30 or whatever it was. And I was like, okay, something's wrong. So I went back on the Facebook group, and there was a different link they posted. They said, new link for live results.
Oh.
And you click that, and it was updated.
Oh, nice.
So I could watch it. So all my panic, like, kind of went down.
I appreciate you worrying about us.
Yeah, I was like, I literally, there was a second where I was like, they all quit. Like, because I didn't know, because it was super cold, right? I didn't know how cold it was.
Well,
but I thought, well, maybe something happened where they just can't.
That was the thing. Like, so it was 32-ish degrees at the start of the race, right?
It wasn't that damn cold.
No. It didn't feel that, and I'm going to agree with you. It didn't feel that cold. Now, it was the standing around before the race that made it feel cold.
Well, I looked up and it said it was going to be like 20 degrees at the starting line. So I thought it was going to be.
It may have been colder than
24. It was
okay,
24 when we started.
24, that's right. Okay, so 24 when we started, and I got all the way to Karnak. I'm trying to remember if I changed before Karnak the first time or the second time. It was the first time, and I switched into just a T-shirt. Like, so I had leggings and a T-shirt on, and I wore that back to Vienna. And then in Vienna, I put a long sleeve T-shirt on, and I was good all the way up to Tunnel Hill. But at that point, the temperature started dropping again, and I didn't have enough thermal gear to keep me warm. I was pretty miserable. I was running a lot less at that point too, so that didn't help. But I don't think personally that it was that stupid cold during the day. During the day, it wasn't that cold.
All right.
Now, you know, once the sun went down, it was definitely chilly, and I felt like the wind picked up.
It did.
And it got worse.
I think there were a lot of 100-milers that didn't make that overnight.
Yes.
It just kind of.
There was a lot of them that when I finished, a lot of them were coming in and calling it quits at like mile 75 or whatever.
Now, to clarify, when I say it wasn't that cold if you were wearing the right equipment.
Right.
Being out there and not having the right stuff on, there would be nothing worse.
So what was the right equipment for you, Beefcake?
Well, I wore shorts and a T-shirt most of the time.
When'd you put the hoodie on?
When I got to Tunnel Hill.
Okay.
And I put the hoodie on, a thick hoodie, and I put on a real thick, like,
toboggan.
the thing people rob banks in.
Yeah.
A baklava. What are they called? Baklava?
Baklava is a dessert.
Food. It's really good.
That's balaclava? What's the word?
I think
Bird is the word.
Toboggan.
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 Did it cover your face with the holes in the mouth?
No,
it's just really
he just
thick.
had a.
And I felt great. But, you know, one year, the first year that we did it, I didn't have anything but a singlet on. I had a full motion singlet, and I thought I was going to freeze to death. And it was, I'm sure it was 10 degrees warmer.
So through mile 36, you were in a T-shirt and shorts.
Correct.
And a camelback, basically.
Yes. I put on a hoodie. I put on my Sillamore hoodie at mile 26 and took that off and left it on a stump, not 200 yards later.
You didn't leave it there, did you?
I did, but I got it on the way back.
Okay.
That's how close
to
it
say,
was
oh my
to
gosh.
the. But at that point, I would have been fine to leave.
No, you can't lose those, man.
Vaughn's very proud of his Sillamore.
But you know,
I
I
have
passed
7 of them.
you at that right before the turnaround.
Right,
You know, So
right.
you're a mile this way, and I still have
Yep.
another mile to go. So you're 3 miles ahead of me, or whatever however
Math.
that works. But anyways, we didn't even recognize who each other was.
Yeah.
And then you go, Beef, and you had like this. Your eyes were like the outline of your eyes
like a
were
zombie.
super red. And you raised your hand as if you were going to give me like a fist bump from like 20 feet away, and just stood there like, I'm supposed to do something with this fist. And then you kind of swung it like maybe we're going to connect.
And you still hadn't met each other yet.
Oh,
No. We'd already passed each other. That was the crazy thing. So I saw Amanda.
And he's looking at me like he knows me from somewhere.
Yeah, I feel like I know that guy. and it's funny, like I knew I'd be passing you eventually, so I was intentionally looking forward and waiting for as people come by, and I was trying to see, is that somebody I recognize? Is that somebody I recognize? And I did not recognize you until you were 20 feet past me. Like it took that long for my mind to process that, holy shit, that was Beefcake. And even then it was like, and that's somebody I know from somewhere.
Well, I'm pretty sure last year overnight I saw a couple of people that died in the Civil War in the 1800s. So I feel you there.
Oh.
Well, I sat down I got to the halfway point, turned around, got back to that aid station that's 2 miles away from there, and seriously considered wrapping it up. And just kept thinking, I just don't know how I can do this. I don't know how I can go back to the problem was, let me tell you something. First of all, we live in a society that wants to put its boot on your jugular any chance that they get.
Sure.
And when I think about the recognition and the people that I talked to at Tunnel Hill that recognized us from the documentary or from the podcast, and I had so many people who were so gracious that, even 100-mile athletes, very, very fit 100-mile people that were saying, I did this 100-miler because of you. I did this because of that documentary. Right. When easily they could have said, who is that fat motherfucker to be talking about doing anything? That's the vibe that you get in real life. And then you get out there in the trail and ultra community and they turn it into introspection and they say, well, if this guy is willing to put himself out there for 50, I've got to see what I can 100 do. And so I'm sitting there thinking, I can't drop on that. I can't be somebody's reason. I can't have somebody look me in the eye and tell me that I'm the reason that they're out here on any level and then not be out here.
Right.
So I really just have no choice, which is great.
It is great.
On some level, it's like, I'm stuck. This is terrible. Like, the best thing that could happen would be a massive heart attack.
You can't be the guy that's got the liftheavyrunlong.com website and stop.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking, I hope a phantom train comes down these tracks and just takes me out.
Just takes you out.
But, and then there's that's one of the million things you can use to keep you going. And I think that's what it's all about. I think that getting that experience of I just can't go any further is what you pay for. And we spend a lot of time feeling like, well, I wasn't prepared for it, or I should have done this, or I should have done that. But I think ultimately that's what we're all trying to get to, aren't we?
Sure.
I mean, that's why Vaughn ran 100, because he wasn't going to get that out of a 50.
Well, yeah, and I get that. And so me talking about not or being done with ultras or whatever, that's part of my problem with doing another 50 is I've lost, not that it's not a great achievement to run 50 miles, but I've lost that sense of accomplishment because I've done 450s now. And I just don't have that, the first 2 times I crossed the 50-mile finish line, I teared up. I was ready to cry. It was such a sense of accomplishment. Last year at Tunnel Hill, my third 50, I was just so glad it was over because I was so miserable out there. And this year, I was glad it was over. I was tired when it was done. If you had told me that the finish line was another 10 miles away, I probably would have figured out how to do it and finish it. But I don't have that sense of accomplishment after 50 now. So the obvious answer is, well, you got to go do 100, right? But I just, as miserable as I felt after 50, I can't even fathom going out for another 50 miles after
I can't either.
I can't either.
After
No.
what
I felt that way
through.
for a long time, but it doesn't work that way. But I also don't feel the way you do in that I get something out of every single 50 miler I do. I get something out of every 50K I do. I get something out of every marathon I do. Like I
See,
enjoy doing. Like I learn something about myself every single time, and that's why I keep doing it. Like and I don't think I feel as bad as you're. What you're saying is like you feel so terrible. I feel terrible to a degree, but not like I'm never doing this again. I'm like I can't wait to do this again, even though I feel terrible.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and I think if I had the motivation to do the training and stuff like that, I could probably go run. Like if I would just commit to the training, I'd probably go run Tunnel Hill in 10 or 11 hours, get another big PR, and not feel wrecked afterwards if I would put the time in for the training. But
right.
I just haven't made it a priority. And
Well,
so
there-
it's,
yeah,
it, you
I
know,
think you have to
it's
do that
just
too,
it's
yeah.
stupid of me to continue to sign up for these races and not
if
do
you're
the
not
training.
going to train, yeah,
and not do the
I
training.
totally agree with that.
Now, having
Yeah.
said that, I'm also the guy that had a 2 hour and 20-minute PR with my lack of. I mean, my training was basically a series of races, some of which I did, some of which I didn't do. But you know, that's basically all the training I did. The four of us were talking earlier today. Like I've run less than 400 miles this year.
Let's talk about that.
I've run less than 400 miles this year.
I have also.
I've run 21 races, and I can't remember the exact number, but I want to say it was like 220 or 230 of those 400 miles are race miles.
So you have 170 training miles.
All year long, and we're 11 and a half months into the year.
Vaughn, how many miles do you have?
175, possibly plus 30, because I guess I got pissed off when I
Oh,
didn't
that's
finish
right, you said.
Wachita and deleted that from Garmin. So
Just took that memory away. Like
right,
Men
it
in
was
Black.
about 40 miles I ran there, so it would have been a little over 200. But I've
And
not
how many of
ran-
those were training?
I only well, all of them. I only ran 2 races, I guess, Wachita and Sylamore this year.
But still, that's
And
80 miles.
St. Jude.
That's 80 of those 170 miles.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
What about you?
oh wait a minute, no, it's 60 because you only made it through mile 30 of Wachita, right?
Yeah,
I'm
but it's not a good example year for me, really. Because
No, I know, but-
I ran 100 miles last year. It was a different thing. It affected this year, and so now I'm kind of back on track again. So I don't think this year is a good example to go, oh, this guy only runs 170 miles. When I'm normally training, I think it's around 300, 400, something like that.
Yeah.
For a year, including races.
Yeah, I think a typical year for me since I've been CrossFitting, where I'm dedicated to training, is probably closer to 600 or 700 miles.
I do.
a year.
I want to tell a story. Like I remember when I first, like the first couple of years I was running. I think it was 2012 when I had a bunch of friends. When I was on the Journeyman or whatever, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's January. It's December, and I got to get to 2012 miles for the year."
Right.
And I was like,
Holy mackerel.
and everybody was like, I made my 2012. And I was like, oh. And so I went and looked, and I'm like at 500.
Right.
There's no way. And I was in good shape.
Yeah,
That was probably the best running shape I've ever been in.
So I started running in 2010. 2011 was all running, and then 2012 I started CrossFit. 2011 was my highest mileage year, and I did like 1,200 miles that year.
Yeah. But I've never even broke 1,000.
In 2018, I have 16 training miles.
I don't know how to look up training stuff, but I did 345.5 this year.
I have 18 miles worth of driving where I forgot to turn my watch off. But my time is incredible. And those were all during long runs. So they really, like, if somebody was looking at it from an ultra standpoint, they'd be like, wow, that guy did pretty good, especially at the end. He had some negative splits. But I had a lot of
What's the total miles with races?
289 miles.
Okay, so you
So
run
seven ultras and then the Navy nautical.
So we are not the typical ultra runner
No.
group between the four of us as
No.
far as the mileage that we would typically put in to prepare for an ultra.
As a
that's-
matter of fact, if I was a race director, I wouldn't allow me in my race.
But I have a little bit of disagreement with that. I mean, you are true. You are correct in that most ultra marathon runners run a lot of mileage during the year, but that's not to say that we don't do work. And now, granted, you could take my last year and say this guy's a loser, and that's fine.
I say that anyways.
But
I need to look at your
yeah,
mileage.
but when I come watch my next year, right? And it's not that we don't work. I work. Like when I'm training, I work. You know, I may not put in as many miles as you, but I'm suffering.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna follow you to Wichita in 2019. At the start of the race, I'm gonna start. Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, you should. But
I'm gonna blast that from my car.
but she said, well, when I ran my first 50 miler, it's on video. Like in between, I ran St. Jude, I ran Sillamore, and then that was February to April was Wichita. And granted, it took me 12 hours. That's not fast, but I only ran 7 miles between Sillamore and Wichita. But I was working my ass off.
Right, you were doing CrossFit stuff. You were doing a bunch
and
of
the
other
race,
stuff.
and we told the race director, we told Chrissy on video. She goes, my buddy said, you know, he only ran 7 miles since February, and she was like, I would not advise that for anyone. You know, like this guy's crazy. But that's not to say I did not work hard.
True story.
Like it's not like I'm just sitting around going, I'm just going to sit here on my couch until I go run this race. Granted, I have done that.
That is me,
especially
though.
in the last year.
That is me.
But I don't normally do that. You know what I mean? Like I'm not just fucking around. Like I work. You know, I mean.
Fair enough.
So.
Beefcake, who was there was a guy we were talking to before the race, or you were talking to specifically, that I think he was out to do the 100 milers, and he compared himself to somebody like a Rob Craw or something like that. He's like, you know what we have in common? And he like named off like 3 things, and one of the things was our longest run was 13 miles. Do you know who that
Billy
was?
Wilson.
Is that who Billy Wilson was? Okay. And how did he do yesterday or Saturday?
He dropped out a little bit early, so his knee locked up around
70.
Did he say 59 and dropped out
60.
at 70.
But
But he's one of those guys that I've talked with back and forth on social media for so long and so often that to finally meet him was like, my gosh, this not only is it great to finally meet him, but it's also like weird that are we really just finally meeting?
Right.
Because, you know, I feel like I know you on a level to where I can put like smart ass memes on your Facebook page, which how much better of a friendship can you get than that?
Sure.
But I passed him, or he passed me at that, you know, halfway point and was doing the wrestling strut and wooing like Ric Flair.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It was just so funny. And, you know,
So he was still in good spirits then at that point.
Yeah, totally. And got me in good spirits.
Yeah.
Because, you know, at that point I was at like I'm not real sure what I'm going to do here.
Okay.
But it's not good. Yeah.
Well, I hate the race didn't go the way he wanted it to, but I think there are a lot of people, to Vaughn's point, of that aren't necessarily doing like just a ton of running mileage or whatever to train for ultras. They're doing other work to get themselves ready for the races.
And like Vaughn said, I was not trying to put out that I don't work.
Right.
I mean, I do plenty of events, and doing 7 ultras in a year in and of itself is a lot.
That's
of,
a
Yeah, a lot of
That's
people
a
would say
lot.
that's stupid. Yeah.
and
I think you do a lot of conditioning just in your job.
And-
You're on that heat every day, pushing stuff around.
there is that, and I attribute that to the time on my feet.
That's
is why I
endurance,
feel
yeah.
confident that I can get through these things, albeit very ugly.
I've been on my feet for 12 hours before with a backpack on, you know, right? Like,
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah,
And
so-
and a lot of times when I have to say I really just want to go home, but there's another parking lot to be swept, and you got to do that. So I mean, 12 hours with a backpack
Right.
is not a whole lot
that's-
different than 12 hours with a Camelback.
I think that's what I'm trying to say is you can do a lot more than you think you can do, even not really working very hard. Like once you experience that whole thing of, I don't have to quit right now, right? I can go another 10 miles, or I can make it another 5 miles to the next aid station.
Well, I think a lot
Even
of this
though
is
my
mental.
brain- that's what I'm trying to say. Like once you learn that, you can go and run a 50-mile race without doing a whole lot of training. If that's what you want to do, if you've got 12 hours to run or 24 hours to run the 50-mile race, you can go run it.
and
do
to
it.
bring this back around to my not wanting to do 50 milers anymore, that's the point. Is like, yes, it is possible to go complete a 50-miler without that training, but I don't want to feel
hurts.
I don't want to
Yeah.
feel that miserable anymore.
Right.
Now, if I could figure out how to get myself motivated, commit to the training again, then it's back on the table because it would hurt less and it would suck less.
Yeah.
Gavin May did more miles in September than you've done already this year. 196 miles in September.
I believe that. Yes, I do.
I totally believe that.
Oh, so on that Satan strip between Tunnel Hill and the crap aid station, that should have a fire but doesn't have a fire.
What is it, 4
It
miles?
had a fire. It had a
Four-
fire last year.
It didn't have a fire this year.
Was it at 8 miles? You go out 4 and come back 4? Or is it
No.
No.
She's talking about
From
the one that's
Tunnel Hill.
closer
Tunnel
to
Hill
Vienna.
to the last
Closer
aid
to
station.
The one
Vienna.
that we have 2.8 miles left.
Yeah, it's
after
only
that.
2.8 miles from Vienna.
Okay.
Yeah.
On
so
your way back to the
that
finish line?
stretch is what I call like hell.
You've gone through the tunnel
Gone
already?
through the tunnel, going back towards Vienna to
Okay.
finish.
Uh-huh.
So that stretch is, I don't know, it's
don't
a
even
death
remember there
march
being
to
an aid
me.
station
That's
there.
terrible because they hardly have anything. At least they had it lit up this year. It's usually pretty terrible.
Okay.
They've done a lot better. But so I got past there and I'm like, yes, 2.8 miles finally. And I killed myself, beating myself mentally through that 6 mile stretch between those two aid stations. I hate that part of that race. Anyway, I was like kind of half shuffling, half trying to run and walk, and I kept thinking I was hearing geese flying over, and I finally realized it was my rhonchi as I breathed out. I was going honk, honk.
Oh, my God.
It's like because my
been there before.
bronchioles had constricted so bad because
Oh
of
my
the cold that I could.
Wow.
And I was freaking him out when we got back to the room because I could like do this evil Satan whisper. So I was like going Harry Potter, and it was like freaky. I should have recorded myself, but
That's funny.
it was really
Wow.
messing with my lungs. I was like,
Wow.
geese are. why
That's
are
just because
geese
it was so
flying
cold?
over?
Or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I start to sound like. I've got exercise-induced asthma, and it's exacerbated by the cold. So that's kind of what I start to sound like.
Yeah. It was funny. It was different. So I got a kick out of it, thinking that there was geese flying around. It was just me.
Well, and it's weird what you can convince yourself of when you're out there by yourself.
Yeah, and I was
you're
out there
just
in the
hearing
dark with a
things,
headlamp.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what was that?
So it's so funny. Dawn's watching remotely, but I didn't get a chance to tell her this story. But I forgot a headlamp again this year. Last year I bought a headlamp, but didn't test it before I got there, and it didn't work when it came time to use it for the race. And Dawn actually had an extra one. So this year we're driving up, and I was like, oh crap! I had been meaning to go to REI. Didn't buy a headlamp. She's like, I got an extra one, so she gave it to me. So I just dropped it in the bag. Didn't think twice about it. Right. So coming back out of Tunnel Hill, I put it on,
No bad.
and I turned it on, and I've got a ball cap on, and I turned it on going into the tunnel, and I'm like, and I'm putting my hand up. I'm like, okay, the thing's working. Like, is it that dim? And I'm like, I walked all the way through the tunnel. Luckily, it was still light outside, so it wasn't affecting me too bad. But then I finally just turned it back off and kind of got annoyed with it. And I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, I got like the dead headlamp, and this thing's not going to get me like through the race or whatever. So then sun finally goes down, and I don't know what I did or what finally clued me in or whatever, but basically it was because I had the bill of my hat going forward. Like the
You were
light was
sending
just
the-
hitting, the light was just like hitting the bill, and like that was it. And so like I turned my hat around backwards, and I was like, oh, it's like daylight out here now.
I
That's
came
awesome.
back through last year. I came back through the tunnel going back, and I had already taken my headlamp off because it was light outside. It was like 7:30, 8
Sure.
o'clock or whatever it was. And I was like, I don't need this anymore. And then I got in the tunnel, and it was like completely dark. And I was like running into the side of the wall, and I was delirious anyway. So
Yeah.
like, bark. I hit the wall like, oh, God. And then I was afraid I was going to trip and fall. And so it was just a nightmare.
Yeah, so last year, Dawn and I going up to Tunnel Hill, the sun had started to go down before we got to the tunnel. And so once we got to the end of the tunnel, you could see the other end. I mean, there's enough light that you could see the other end of the tunnel.
You could see the other end, but
Right.
everything else is
Yeah.
Right, but
Yeah,
so
when you
so
get in
we
there.
like we walk in, and we're walking in the center, and neither of us had our headlamps yet. So we're just like, okay, we're just going to walk through the center, and we can feel like we're not walking in the center anymore.
Right.
And so she's like fumbling with her, looking for her cell phone, trying to figure out how to turn the flashlight on. And I kid you not, like she goes to turn the flashlight on, and the wall's like right there, like not even a foot from us.
Right.
We're about to walk into the wall.
It's such a weird
And it's like-
experience.
It
too,
is
'cause, like,
weird.
You get like right into like halfway
And
where
it's
you can
like-
you can see the other end of the tunnel, but you can't see your hand in front of your
Right,
face.
exactly,
It's
exactly.
so weird.
It's a miracle more people don't walk off the trails and fall off the side.
Right?
I imagine.
did you-
Right? Because there are several kind of precarious places, and especially at night coming back. Like I noticed, and I was very grateful that I had the headlamp, because there were a couple spots where when you were coming off a bridge, like the chain link fence or whatever of the bridge goes like onto the dirt part of the road, but then there's like a giant like 3-foot radius hole. Like
Yeah.
right there that you could have fallen in if you were on that side of the bridge
man.
and not paying attention. Like if you weren't in the center of the bridge. So
And you get to drunk walking,
Right.
when you're out there. And did y'all see that girl at the beginning of the race that I started carrying on a conversation with her, and she just slowly started like edging me to the side. And it was like, this is,
Running you off the trail.
yeah, like this is stop. This is quit. Like I basically just stopped for a second and let her keep going. I thought she's just going to roam off course.
Did she go, I love your podcast. I love the documentary.
And then there's another girl, another person that she was just chattering ahead of me, and she was stepping like off into the leaves, and she would correct herself, and every time she'd turn around to say something, I want to be like, just go, we're fine.
yeah,
Just
you don't have to
keep
look at
going.
me. Just keep talking.
Because I'm not getting you out of that rut. Like you go down there, and I'll let somebody know, but it may be 2 hours.
I want to know and I feel like we've talked about this maybe on the podcast at some point before, but I noticed when I was headed up the hill, some of the faster people coming down the hill, either 50 or 100 milers, they have this like left lean to them. They're running in a straight line, but they're like lean to the side. And I think we had talked about this where it has something to do with like they're being like depleted,
We did talk
nutrient
about
wise.
that, yeah.
And
I think
I really
depleted
just,
what?
I really just want to know like
Depleted what?
Like they're-
nutrients or whatever.
they're just-
like,
Makes you
just-
lean to one side?
They're
I,
just
I don't.
completely.
I have no idea what the real cause is. I would
Okay.
like to know what the real
they're,
cause
they're
is.
dehydrated and they're at the end of their.
But it's
they have
amazing
no
to me
more-
that they're running in a straight line, but they are literally like cocked like.
Are y'all standing on something crooked to make you think that they're running? I didn't notice that on any of them.
Oh, some of the faster run, and they're usually the skinnier, like the super
Watch the
skinnier
ones,
runners.
particularly at the end of the 100. You'll see like some real messed up like positions coming in through the finish line. Like I'm sure I was one of them, but what I'm saying is like they're in not good. I mean they're having not a great time all the time.
Well, I get in a messed up position, and people ask me all the time.
Are you okay?
Even when I'm not in the middle of a race, people ask me in Walgreens, like, "You limping? Like, what's wrong?" And I'm like, "I just waddled, dude. Like, I'm fine." And I thought, if another motherfucker asked me if I'm okay out here, because I'm like in my head, I'm like getting it, I'm doing it, I'm moving, I'm shuffling, I'm going, and people
No
like,
backwards miles this time.
Yeah.
No 40-minute miles.
You're doing very well. Yeah.
I moved as long as I have ever moved at a run-like pace.
Sure.
Now, was the run that I was doing faster than a walk? I'm not sure. I probably could have slowed down and walked, or I probably could have walked at the same speed that I was shuffling. But I was just proud of myself for being in that gate.
I think you were going faster than you give yourself credit for, at least in the first half, because we were run walking, and I couldn't keep up with you walking while you were running, and I'm a little bit taller than you, so if you were as slow as you were,
You're like 6'8".
exactly,
I'm like 6'4".
Mountain. He's
exactly.
huge.
Talking about things that annoyed you on the course. Coming back down from Tunnel Hill, I had this, and I'm gonna call them a couple. I don't know if they were actually together, but a male and female that were running, and I was playing leapfrog with them because we were both doing run walks, and we were obviously on similar intervals. Every time I go by them, and it's the guy on the left, the girl on the right, so I pass on the left, and then get back over onto the right-hand side. So every time I go by them, the guy's like, "Great job." And then I get a little bit ahead of them and I slow down.
Great job.
And then they start running and they come back by me and the girl's like, "You're doing great." Like
Good.
every time. And I'm like, do y'all
don't have
not
to
know
speak
that
to
I'm
me.
the same guy that you like keep passing over and over again? Like, just stop. Like, I didn't say anything to him, but I really wanted to be like, just shut up.
You don't have to acknowledge me every single time I pass you.
I mean, I know I'm awesome, but
I like your podcast.
I ran I ran a similar type situation with a guy that you had run with for a few miles. I don't know his name. He was from possibly Michigan. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Or Indiana.
I don't know. Maybe Michigan.
Indiana. Anyway, he was like, "Oh, I ran with your husband for a few miles." It's like, "Oh, okay." And we kind of did that, but we got tickled because we realized, because we weren't really paying attention, we just see somebody go by, and it's like, "Hey man, good job." It's like, "Oh, never mind." And we just laugh.
right.
And so sometimes we would think not to say
and
that.
I get that a couple of times, but it was like, I mean, I'm wearing like a bright pink shirt.
passed
Like,
you 5 times
it's
in the
pretty
last 20
obvious that
minutes. You don't
there's
have to tell
not,
me.
35 pink shirts out here on the course. You should be aware that you're passing the same guy over and over again.
I did run into somebody that was wearing I was coming out of the restroom at the turnaround point after Karnak, and they were going into the restroom. They had a Can't Stop Endurance shirt. And so as I was coming in the restroom, I turned around and I said, "Does that say Can't Stop Endurance?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Kevin Leathers is the man." And then at the same time, this lady was coming out of the restroom. She goes, "Yes, he is." I was like, that was cool that both people knew who he was. Alan Couch. Do y'all know Alan?
He's
Know
the
the
guy
name.
you told me played on stage with the Pixies, but it wasn't the Pixies. It was
Is
the
the Posies.
Right.
Correct.
Got it.
And is a judge in Hernando.
Yes.
Well, he's a 250-pound guy, but he is like 6'4". He's a big guy. He ran that thing in 11:56,
Good for him.
doing 1 and 1s the whole time.
Like 1 minute on, 1 minute
1
off.
minute on, 1 minute
Wow.
off. And I was thinking it'll be good to see Alan because we'll kind of be at a pretty good pace together. So I thought.
And he just.
And I saw him doing his. I caught up to him on the first part of it, and he went for his 1 minute on. And I mean, I was like, forget that, man. I mean, he's like busting out like Carl Lewis out of the gate. But he did great.
That's awesome.
I ended up flipping. So I was doing 4.2, and then when I had to take my foot and y'all took off, I continued 4.2, and then when I got past Vienna a few miles, I flipped and did 2.4.
So,
And so I kept my watch going, and I flipped for a while till I finally started walking more than a
yeah, after Vienna, I went from 4.2 to 4.8. And then I finally settled on 4.6, and
Like
I did
walking
4.6
for 6 minutes.
Yeah, and I did 4.6 up the hill through the turnaround and back to Tunnel Hill, and then once I got through the tunnel, I went back to 4.2. Going down the hill, I was back at 4.2.
I attempted to catch you, and I think we were just about a mile apart from each other at the end or close to it. But there for a while, I was like booking it, and I was like, you know what? He's probably booking it at the exact same time I am, and we're just sitting there moving. I was like, forget
It's
it.
hard to make up on a trail. Like a minute is even a long
Yeah.
way away. It's hard to catch up with somebody.
It's
once
easy to lose one.
Yeah.
I know that. You get. I was trying to do. I had my timer set for 6 hours, and I wanted to finish the first 25 in 6 hours. Was my goal.
Okay.
And I got pretty good ways ahead of that, and then I was at 8 minutes. So I finished at 8 minutes ahead. And so I set my next 25-mile timer for 8 hours. I thought that's give myself plenty of time. And, if I could get a 13:59 would be great. Anything in the 13s. And, I held on. And then once it starts diminishing, once those minutes start falling behind, I mean, they fall behind quick.
Well, so it's funny. Before the race, Dawn and I were trading texts, and I did the calculations to figure out for a 10.5-hour finish, an 11-hour finish, and a 12-hour finish, basically when we needed to be leaving each aid station. So I had the mileage, like the elapsed time, and then the time of day of when we need to be leaving the aid station to be on track for that finish time. And she like went and like printed it out and laminated it, so she had this card with her.
Yeah,
like,
she kept pulling that thing out.
and she kept pulling it out. Like, yep, we're okay. So right now we're in the 10.5 to 11 hour, range, kind of thing. And I lost Dawn and Petey a little while after we left Vienna, going up to Tunnel Hill. And I don't know, some point, I don't know if it was the first time in Tunnel Hill or if it was after the out and back, I realized that I'd lost 12 hours, that I wasn't going to be able to do 12 hours. And then at that point, it gets really easy to just be like,
You're just like, screw it.
Yeah.
why push?
Yep.
But,
I've got 24
but
hours to finish
I kind of I snapped out of it pretty quickly because it was one of those like, well, who cares at this point, whether it takes me 13 hours or 15 hours, or 12 hours and 1 minute, I'm not going to get 12 hours, so it doesn't matter. And then I'm like, well, it's going to suck to be out here any longer than I have to be, so suck it up, Buttercup, and let's get to moving. And I got myself back into a good place pretty quickly.
That's what I was thinking, is that, even if you are shuffling at a pretty good rate, you can only go so fast. But either way, if you still got, when you're almost done, when you have 6 miles, 5 miles, 4 miles to go, you're still talking about 2 hours been out there.
Yeah, when
an
you're
hour
doing
and a half.
15, 16,
and then
18
when you
minute
start
miles.
thinking, 2 hours of exercise is a lot.
That's a lot.
At any point in my day, if you told me right now, if I was perfectly healthy and rested, and you said you got to go get on a treadmill for 2 hours, that's a long time to be on a treadmill. And I'm
take a
thinking, I
hammer
don't
to
know
my
if I
head.
could. And to Vaughn's credit, I thought about you 1,000 times doing the 100-miler, and I kept asking myself, like, okay, if I had to, if my life was on the line, if my children's life was on the line, could I just tell them I want to do another loop? And the answer is no. I mean, I just can't. I can't even imagine. Lisa Barker, y'all know Lisa Barker?
Is that the girl that was on the Facebook group last night?
She's watching live.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
yay.
I had a little conversation with her on Facebook. I think it's the same girl.
I'm really proud of
yeah,
her.
she did the 100.
Nails.
She sure
tough
did.
as nails. God damn, that woman is
Yeah.
tough.
Yep, I was tracking her. We got up the next morning. I pulled it up. She was still listed. I'm like, yes, she's still in it.
Well,
There was no question in my mind. If there was time, she was going to be rolling on it because she'll just go. She'll go forever. You cut her damn leg off, and just beat her with it for 30 hours. Just keep.
Well, that's like
giving on
Vaughn.
down.
Vaughn's got that ability to just put himself
Yeah.
in the pain. He gets in that pain cave and he sets up home. Like he, gets himself comfortable and
I
he's
can
just
hang out there for a while.
and see.
Yeah.
I think I had that at one point and I just don't have that anymore.
You still got it.
I was really worried about. I was tracking.
I don't want it. How about that?
Another guy in our group, Jeff Sullivan, I was tracking, and he was like super behind. Like he was like they're almost 30-minute miles, like 25-minute miles early. And I was like, well,
He was running with somebody.
He was running with a
he was
girl
pacing
who
somebody else
apparently
who
runs
was
that
a little
slow.
bit slower. Yeah.
And I guess the plan was to run 50 miles, and you have 24 hours to do it or whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I could not imagine running 50 miles and having to go overnight to do it. Like get well into the night to run the 50 miles.
Yeah, that-
Yeah,
Okay.
seeing the sun come back up and you're only doing 50.
Yeah, that'd be
pain.
rough.
That would be
Yeah.
pain. That talk about pain cave. That would be terrible. And so anyway, I was messaging him, and apparently he had some health issues or something, and ended up having to quit. So that's why he was not behind. But
By health issue, you mean tipped over?
I
mean,
think
he went
collapsed
out
or something.
He collapsed on the
Yeah,
on the
between
course.
hypothermia and I don't know, is hypoglycemic the right
Yeah,
term?
his
Like
blood
his blood sugar
glucose dropped,
Yeah.
That's
So
scary,
both happened simultaneously, basically, and he fell out on the course. But he was fine enough to drive home a couple hours later. So
Well, there you go.
Well, all I know is if you stopped running, it got cold quickly. I met Mark
you
Fortune.
don't want to do that.
I met Mark at Vienna because he was ahead of me, and he was like, I'm so cold, I can't get warmed up. And I was like, you just got to keep moving. Come on, let's go out together. Let's get started.
So he
And
he told me this morning, I talked to him, he had already tried to go out. He had already left Vienna,
Oh,
had gone a mile out and
Oh, he
decided
didn't
that
tell me that, okay.
he said I didn't even bother telling her, but he had gone a mile out of Vienna
Oh,
and then
bless
turned
his
around
heart.
and came back because he just knew he didn't have it in him. So he had tried to keep going.
okay. Well, that makes me feel a little bit better because I was like, he's like, no, I'm just going to go get my car and warm up. And I was like, if you get in your car, you will never get back out of that car. Please don't go to your car.
He's not done. Mark will get it. He'll get it. He'll do it next year.
We'll see.
Everything that we're saying right now is complete bullshit. Like there's no way for us to say what we're going to be thinking or
A year
feeling
from
or
now.
doing
Yeah.
a year from now. I'm not saying that we won't feel the same way, but I'm saying we'll feel differently at some point.
You know how they used to
My
talk about
money is you're in for the 100 next year.
You know how they used to talk about Steve Jobs and his reality distortion field?
Yeah.
You know, that he could
Yeah.
always like make people love the Apple. That's Wilson. Wilson's got this reality distortion field that makes people want to go sign up for ultras. No matter what they think they want to do,
Right.
Wilson he's like, come on, you know, all you got to do is just sign up for it. It's just 50 miles. You've done it before, blah, blah, blah. You know, and next thing you know, you're fucking signing up for the race.
You'll do the
and you're
100 next
registering.
year. I'm sure of it. I can tell by the look on your
That's
face.
a big commitment.
Yeah, he'll do it.
You'll do it.
I'm not saying I won't. I'm saying there's a lot of training that has to go in between now and then for me to be committed to it.
It's not up to you.
You know, after doing that 50 though, I feel a lot better about Dopey coming up. It's like if I could do
Well,
that.
and so that's
you
that's
can
the
handle
other thing.
that for
Yeah,
sure.
like I do feel. I mean, that race served a purpose for me. You know, I mean, the thing is like. I did Snaky Creek 25K. I was supposed to do Big Hill Pond 50K. Didn't run the 50K, and that was supposed to be prep for the 50 miler. So I'm glad that I did the 50 miler because I'm going to feel better about St. Jude half in a weight vest, and then rolling right into Dopey Challenge.
And the Dopey Challenge is fun. That's a fun experience.
Yeah, and
You're
I'm not going to go out there for any PRs or
like,
anything
yeah.
like
sub
that.
No, I
4 hour
wanna-
marathon.
I want to try to take a picture with Winnie the Pooh. So I
Right.
might have to stand in line.
So, yeah, in case you don't know, every single mile there is a beautiful sign that is the mile marker, and then most miles at most of the races have a character at them. And so you can wait in line to do a character stop.
What's the marathon cutoff?
Don't start me lying. I want to say 7 or 8 hours, but don't start me
I
lying.
imagine that line. You don't
think
want to wait in
it's
that line too long.
I think it's 7.
Well,
yeah,
if you're one that is already going to struggle to finish in time, yes, you do not want to wait
Right,
in those
right.
lines.
Yeah, I definitely want to stop for the marathon, but I'd like to find Winnie the Pooh.
Well, we can find him in the park somewhere.
Oh, for sure. Winnie the Pooh
besides
has,
the race.
has his own spot in the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
What? Does he really?
Yeah.
I want to go to Pooh World.
We still talk about Winnie the Pooh.
We should wrap this thing up. You said it, I didn't.
Turn the lights out.
It's committed.
Episode 123.
Lift Every Run Long, number 123 is in the books. Let's go to Pooh World.